Hello, ladies and
Hello.
gentlemen. How are you all doing tonight?
We're Adventuresome Reviews, and we've just killed off an entire population.
Of guinea pigs.
So we're feeling great.
In New Guinea.
Yes. We destroyed the population to feed some hungry people off in Africa. So we're
We could have
martyrs.
just used the popcorn we used to destroy the population for that. This doesn't seem like a very well thought out plan.
Well, no, you see, the popcorn got misdirected in a shipping error, so all the guinea pigs ate the popcorn.
Wow.
Yes. I am very
On a
disappointed.
scale of monumental failures?
This is
really
one of
isn't
your
all
bigger
that
ones.
high.
You mentioned it? No. Still, we had to do a lot to recover lost ground.
Yeah.
I'm very disappointed in you.
I don't know why I'm perfect.
You're the one who bought the popcorn!
Yeah. You win some, you lose.
Well, I guess that's a decent outlook on life.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Today we are reviewing The Lost Star.
Ooh, a fancy spacefaring book about a ship that's crumbling around the ears of the crew members. By Odette C. Bell. That's the book author's not.
That's what the buy is.
I know.
Or did you think like Dead Sea Bell was like some sort of ship virus that was causing it to crumble?
That would have been a great book. A named virus with a personality. It's like a program hacks thing, but a disease instead.
It would be kind of interesting.
And it could have a mad amount of lip, and the virus gets into this wicked rap wars with the doctors.
Now we're starting to get a little more into the weird side.
Are you saying this would not be a fantastic read?
Yeah.
You have the doctors who are desperately cutting open and trying to save patients. Blood is flying everywhere. Limbs are flying everywhere. Eyeballs are bouncing around the floor. And here he is, engaging in wicked insult exchanges with the virus, killing his patient.
Maybe, but it would be great for a farcical book.
Yeah. Considering the amount of death and gore already displayed, I'm not.
I know that was kind of the problem, because it's an extremely humorous basic narrative, or fun. But then you threw over amounts of blood and gore, and you completely ruined it.
But the blood and gore is what's important. It's what adds the rap worse color.
No. Anyway, The Lost Star is actually about Ava, or Ava. Ava sounds better.
Sounds a little more accurate, yes.
The priestess of a highly secretive space culture with magic, who goes into secret hiding in the Federation-esque place's fleet to train and become an officer in said fleet, and thus to explore the universe and avoid responsibilities.
Only one problem. She is an absolute weakling. Lifting a pin tires her out for like 3 days. She gets stabbed once and she bleeds out all over the floor. It's horrifying.
While, yes, accurate, I don't think horrifying is the appropriate term.
Anybody who cannot survive getting stabbed is a weakling and terrifies me.
No. No. You have to give the readers a semi-accurate depiction of the book.
I was about to lead in with an explanation that kind of bounced out. You see, to leave her home planet, which is this uber-secret, seclusionist race people, she had to get her innate powers locked away, and which, rendered anemic and all the other colorful things about her personality.
Yeah.
And so while she'd be typically a relatively hefty person who can punch through walls and yada yada, now she bruises her fist like us normies.
Yeah.
She's just disdainful.
Yeah. And the story begins primarily and transpires primarily with her joining the maiden flight for a new starship. Only the starship is plagued with massive issues, and this was actually one of the parts I felt was best handled and I very much enjoyed book is that you're in space in a literal death trap, a ship that is actively and continually trying to kill its inhabitants because of all the problems that are afflicting it.
It's so much like well handled enough and interesting enough that I would actually have liked the book to go on longer so we could spend more time in the death trap aspects of it.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't even because all the traps happen to Ava, right? Because reasons that we'll delve into later.
We will not.
Okay, we will
That's
not.
spoilerish. I wasn't even going to mention they focused on Ava because that means there's malice and plotting.
An evil ship! And that plague we talked about, which I was totally, absolutely, and completely not fabricating.
I raise my hand in your general direction and cover your face in shame.
Anyway, it's something it's an aspect of the book that could have gone on longer because I was not tired of it at all.
In part because the situations that it creates are interesting, require creative solutions, which is nothing that reflects
Well, on the
Ava's
main
character.
characters.
Is that she comes up with these creative solutions, and a lot of the perils and the dangers that they confront are these situations, these dangerous situations. They don't require just brute strength or violence or laser blasts to resolve.
And a lot of times they actually feel dangerous. It's not, oh, the main characters are going to survive zippy-doo-dah-day.
Well, there is a little bit of that because it's not Game of Thrones, but point still stands. They're interesting and they feel dangerous. And continuing with the concept, I did enjoy Ava as a character.
The book did much of itself very well. All the characters had backstory that was not just dumped on you and mass boring loads. They had personality and goals and character shifts throughout the book.
I will be returning to this topic at a later date. For now, we are talking about Ava.
Okay.
You can continue. I was just saying that I have
I'll
qualms with some of the several.
Well, I was going to add a but later on, but we can go back to Ava and leave them in suspense.
But yeah, that's I introduce a topic to something. Ava's characters, defects, popular stuff, etc. You go, I like all the characters. I'm like, betrayal!
It has to happen to everyone eventually. It puts hair on your chest. Anyway, Ava's character. Ava's character has a really nice goal, which is she does not want to live on her home planet.
Yes, but that's not the core of her character. The core motivation of her character is that she's scared of responsibility.
And on her planet, she is given a mountain load of responsibility, and so this makes for a thoroughly engaging character narrative as she sacrifices physical power, self-healing, and all the just fancy things that comes with her bloodline in order to simply escape the massive mountain resting upon her shoulders.
Yes, and I agree. I like that. That's a really core, strong part. One of the flaws of it, though, is that the book never really effectively explains where it comes from, where that fear or that aversion to responsibility come from. And you understand very much that it is like a strong aversion, so it's not just laziness, but the book doesn't really explain why it's not laziness. It's just you're supposed to accept that it's not laziness because of how strong her aversion is. And I would have liked to see or to better understand or just get like a really good grasp of its origin and the core of that fear and aversion, because otherwise it while strong and motivating for her, it felt a little bit thin, if that makes sense to you.
Thin is probably a good way to describe it.
We don't delve into it.
We don't get the tragic backstory, basically.
It's not given meat and texture that the readers can interact with and understand it. It is just there.
It is important to note, however, that even as she is running away from responsibility, and she is not dislikable, she is a courageous individual. She routinely saves the other main character's life, who is called Hunter McLean, and we'll be delving into him a little bit later. But Ava, she does not. She is likable in every one of her scenes. She routinely turns the other cheek when she gets into fights, and it's not simply because she's weak. She's calm, she rushes into danger, despite being, weaker, like anemic and physically weaker than anybody else on the ship.
Yeah. And then, of course, you have her creative problem solving, and so it creates just an enjoyable character to follow through this narrative, especially since the narrative is very dangerous for her. She's constantly demanded to do hard physical things to survive lethal situations.
Probably one of the things I felt the book actually did best, and this is not even just for this book, this is it when set against other books, is Ava has this running theme of just being absolutely fearless. And not fearless where she goes, rah, charges into danger. It's a dragon roars, shoots fire at her, and she's like, meh, right? And the book does an excellent job of explaining how she got this just well-nigh terrifying level of just calm and passivity, but also putting her in situations where other people are freaking out, and she's just, and it's a gambit of situations from danger to awkwardness, and it just does not faze her. And the book does an excellent job of bringing this up constantly, so where it becomes her other characters comment on it. It's just nice. It's well handled.
Yeah.
And it's because she goes into a painful death match every night in her dreams, so.
Yeah. Part of her cultural heritage and her position in it. On the other side, we have Hunter. I struggled to like Hunter.
It's where some of the problems of the book raise their head the hardest, or
Yes.
most notably.
Hunter is not as effective. He is borderline incompetent, and which is highly condemning, because he's in opposition to Ava, who is both physically weak and highly competent. And you have Hunter, who is physically strong and incompetent, and struggles to think outside of the box, and has other situations where he's just behaves unlikably. He's willfully blind in some situations. He's negative. He is complaining.
His brother's the captain of the ship, and he talks back to his brother all the time, and it's not even friendly repartee. No, it's active, dislikable back talking, and he gets closer to being actually lazy than Ava does. The author tries, right, and a lot of the times Hunter is given a reason to act sourly or bitterly, and a lot of the times Ava is the one receiving this bitterness.
Mm-hmm.
And Hunter is given kind of soft outs, but they only half work.
But that's also kind of the thing, especially since he is being put up against Ava and then his brother, whose name escapes me right now. But his brother has his own problems later on in the book, but especially at the start, his brother is a highly efficient, in-control captain of the ship. And while the brother has issues, he has sort of bootstrap military, and he does that effectively. And Hunter doesn't have any level of...
Hunter is not bootstrap military, but he is not space cowboy either, which is what you would kind of like.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Besides the fact that Hunter just isn't really anything. He doesn't have a strong, viscerally likable archetype driving. He's just kind of there for a lot of it. And he doesn't even necessarily have a goal he's working for, which, so long as a character has a goal and they're working toward it, actually
makes a character likable in of itself.
He has no drive.
A character can be an absolute douchebag, but so long as they're actually actively working towards something and moving mountains, they are still respectable at the end of it. Because drive is respectable.
Yeah.
Hunter does not have a drive, and to some extent that's part of his character arc, or not arc, but his character type, where he does not have a drive, and his brother, the captain of the ship, thinks he has this potential in him, right? And he's constantly throughout the book telling Hunter, it's like, you're not living up to your potential, and he's disappointed in Hunter, which you like because Hunter is not living up to his potential, and it shows that the captain actively cares for his brother and is not simply just taking all of his brother's shit.
Yeah.
One of the problems with Hunter is that even at the end of the story, Hunter has not found his purpose or his drive or anything yet.
And he still doesn't feel particularly competent. Because, like, he and Ava end up in multiple dangerous situations.
And in each of these situations, Hunter does display himself with some degree of competence.
But he always needs Ava to find the solution.
Yes, but he's never actively dragging her down, right? He's helpful and he is not cowardly in any of the situations. And he, much like Ava, he runs into danger when necessary.
It's just the times he's allowed to display good qualities, they're always overshadowed by other characters, and they're not particularly vibrant.
On top of that, his views ping pong a little, which is just at the he gets slightly brushed, and his views go and his treatment goes flying in the opposite direction. He starts out very kind to Ava or embarrassed, and he gets a slight tap in the other direction, and suddenly he's pretty much starts bullying her, and it's deeply unlikable.
Yeah. The actual plot of the narrative, besides the ship breaking down, like the core narrative plot, is decent, but it's one of those plots where the readers almost immediately intuit what's going on, and then you have your three primary actor characters. You have Ava, Hunter, and then Hunter's brother, and they are acting willfully blind to it through a significant part of the book, and it is annoying.
Yes. And the author does try to patch it up a little, because both McLean brothers are in relationships where their partners are deceiving. And they're deceiving in the way it's like, don't you trust me? You should trust me. And manipulative relationships. And to some extent, this could actually be a thoroughly engaging reason for them turning a blind eye, but the book doesn't delve into it enough. There's not enough.
And the fact that they're both in that same situation does take out some, not necessarily the fun of it, but the fun of it, because you have two of the same narratives playing out instead of one that you can really invest in and explore.
And the book just doesn't spend enough time building into this conflict, into the web of deceit that the significant others are weaving. Both McLean brothers have a single conversation with their girlfriends, and they turn sour, or it's like, okay, I take your word over everything else, even what I've seen with my own eyes. And while to some extent that is believable, it just needs to be built up more. Let's migrate over into my main and only really serious qualm with the book, and it's the pacing. There was not enough time given to almost everything in the book. Hunter gets a slight tap that Ava's evil. He goes flying in the opposite direction. Ava saves his life once. He goes flying in the other direction.
He waffles back and forth a couple of times.
But that's a significant theme throughout the entire book. It's not enough time is given to the narratives, and they're good, they're strong, engaging narratives, and I just wanted more.
And there's a level of inconsistency from Hunter flipping back and forth in his opinion of Ava constantly through the first half, to Hunter's brother starting as a very effective, stable
the captain you
grinding.
would want, right?
Yeah, to being willfully blind at the end, more towards the middle and the end. And like even if you explain it, it's like he goes so far into the willfully blind, it is just not the same character. They're just not. To Ava, like Ava being physically weak in the vast majority of the book, to walking herself across the ship while she's bleeding out. And it's like, okay, that's a little bit lot for someone who's supposed to be extremely weak. And it's various instances of just inconsistency in the plot.
Like all the characters' reactions are so strong. Like Ava's the only moderate character, right?
Mm-hmm.
And to the extent that it goes too far moderate, because she sees the girls manipulating the McLean brothers, and she says, "There's probably nothing going on here. It's just my imagination," right? So she is too moderate, whereas all the other characters, they react explosively to every situation. Hunter and Ava bump into each other, and Ava trips and falls on the ground, and Hunter falls on top of her, and it's this massive to-do. Hunter is ashamed. He gets called up to the captain's office, reprimanded, and it's just, what? And that is a continual theme throughout the book of a little event having massive repercussions, or just something happening too fast.
Yeah.
And once again, because it's just the easiest example to mind, Hunter goes from being incredibly embarrassed at seeing Ava because of that little incident at the start of the book to hating her guts instantly, right? And so this leads to the narrative just kind of bouncing from point to point.
The other thing that came across somewhat weak for me is the romance of the narrative. And part of it is because you don't like Hunter.
But once again, it's happening really fast. There's no build-up at all.
And very few meaningful interactions besides Ava saving Hunter.
And
Which
it does happen once or twice.
It's not that the romance really reaches any level of fruition. It's mostly just the seeds and evident attraction by the end of the book, but it's still just, you guys haven't even done anything to really make you like each other besides.
Romance is not built up through one character saving another's life. However heroic the man might be, or stories have told us, romance is built by two characters interacting, and they get to know each other, they get to trust each other, and then the romance really starts happening when they start revealing unpleasant parts about themselves. Because
that's like
that's a little.
It's not the only way, but it's just
characters interacting.
Yeah, that's
It's like a life or death situation triggers the trust for people to actually start interacting and having discussions and goofing off. But if you don't actually have two characters ever just sit down and talk about quote unquote nothing,
or just not
you have to talk. The characters have to talk
in a way that's not just, okay, we must do this plan for the plot,
or I'm saving your life here.
They have to interact outside of the immediate demands of the plot so they can actually develop chemistry. And Ava and Hunter never developed chemistry. Or Ava and Hunter.
It's like they don't even necessarily have a mutual hatred start to a relationship, because Hunter's like, I hate your guts. Ava's like, meh. Which is kind of funny to think of, but that's how the relationship goes on for like a third of the book.
Yeah. I think that's pretty much everything I have.
I would say the same.
Okay. Au revoir. Goodbye.
Oh wait, we need to. By and large, I actually like the book.
Oh yeah.
It's a really nice, simple, easy read, and
yeah,
all the plot points are strong. Right? They're just going too fast, because like even Hunter hating Ava, that would have been an excellent part of the book if it was simply given more time, and he didn't immediately flip-flop out of it again.
Yeah.
It's like the book made excellent choices throughout.
Yeah.
The writing was decent. The characters were strong. Because even though Hunter, you didn't quite like Hunter, he had character and personality, which is more important than being a cardboard cutout of someone likable.
I'm not so sure.
Well,
But
okay, a surface level character who's likable. Kind of likable. I keep so-soing this, but regardless, by and large, the book was pretty decent and likable.
I probably would have given it 3.5 stars.
Yeah, though I'm not gonna give any more stars because I like to keep them guessing.
Goodbye. Au revoir.
Arrivederci. Fare thee well, our future friends.